Hi everyone, I'm Christina Iltz, and this is my presentation on why I chose wildlife management. A little bit about me. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State, and as such, I practically grew up in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. And so my entire childhood was spent in the great outdoors. Did lots of stuff, hiking, camping, rafting, but also did a lot of bird watching and fishing and hunting. And most of our vacations were centered around road trips to great wildlife areas like Yellowstone and Glacier. And we also had a lot of interactions at home. We lived out in the country, and so we saw a lot of coyotes, occasional mountain lions, raccoons, hawks, eagles, stuff like that. Wasn't always good interactions, but they weren't always bad. So when I got out of the military, I pursued my education specifically in environmental science, and the concentration is fish and wildlife management. And I chose those avenues because I like the outside, I have an affinity for the natural environment, and I definitely think that sustainable management and proper use and care of our natural resources is a big deal, and it's very important. And I focus specifically on fish and wildlife management because I want to be an advocate for things that don't have a voice. They're living creatures on this planet that can't speak for themselves. And I also believe in sustainable use and management. So it's not just, protect all the animals, it's also using them responsibly, maintaining that balance. And also, non-scientifically, I like cute animals, and beavers are my favorite, and I will elaborate on that in a little bit. This class in particular is for my master's degree, and my concentration is still fish and wildlife management, and it's sort of an elaboration on what I learned in my bachelor's, but also because I want to focus more on restoration ecology and habitat restoration and management, which this class will be very useful in. So specifically why this class, or why I've chosen to study wildlife management. It's a required class, but it also aims towards my love of animals. It also is a field where I can look at human-wildlife conflict resolution strategies. We had coyotes that would occasionally kill our chickens. We had a mountain lion attack one of our horses. So personally, I'm interested in that type of information, but I also think that proper management and care of wildlife is key in habitat restoration, which is something I really want to pursue further in my future career. And I also think that it's important in natural resource management, and also more of like a personal responsibility, a moral obligation that we have. And wildlife management also feeds into my dream project, which is restoring wetlands using beavers. And wildlife management can also help pursue what I really like to do in a general sense, which is solving problems or issues with environments using natural means and methods, or mimicking the natural environment, which can include wildlife management. I wanted to throw this example in here of a successful wildlife management strategy. This is probably one of the most well-known cases of reintroduction of an apex predator. So this is the wolves in Yellowstone reintroduction, and this reintroduction really did help restore and balance the ecosystem at Yellowstone. As you can see, once the wolves were introduced, it helped bring the elk population down, which improved the vegetation numbers, which was one of the big problems. Elk were kind of deteriorating the riparian areas due to overbrowsing, and it had great impact on other species in that ecosystem also. Now, with the beavers, I know I've mentioned them a couple times, but wildlife management is part of habitat management, it's part of restoration. If you want to have a successful restoration area, you also have to consider the wildlife that lives in it, because it's all one big interconnected web. And if I want to specifically use beavers to help restore wetland areas, I have to know how to properly manage not only a beaver or beavers, but also how they interact with their environment, how they interact with other wildlife species, vegetative species, and so on and so forth. So those are the main reasons that I'm interested in wildlife management. So that's about it for my general reasons for why I'm interested. Thank you for listening. But also, I really liked this quote from The Land Ethic that we read last week, and I think it really sums up overall why I'm interested in environmental science and fish and wildlife management. Not even just this class, but overall. A land ethic, of course, cannot prevent the alteration, management, and use of these resources, but it does affirm their right to continued existence and, at least in spots, their continued existence in a natural state. And I very much agree with that. Once again, thank you for listening. Hope you guys have a great week.